Okay.
No,
Oh,
Ed,
he
have
has
you
a
seen the
special
minutes?
interest.
Have you seen the minutes yet?
no.
Okay, so we will not do a vote on the
I
minutes.
haven't seen it.
I make a motion.
We can't, there's two of us, right? Okay, so we'll revisit the minutes.
Down here.
Policy.
Give it to
Okay.
Ed, give it to Ed. He's the senior member.
Alrighty, so agenda review.
I'll take the green one.
Do we have anything to add or?
Yes, actually, this is regarding the paving, you know, for us to go back over the paving that was completed, to measure, you have to measure the length and the width of the road. The only way for our road agent to do that currently is with a handheld measuring device. So someone would have to walk behind the truck and do that. So I reached out to Jason Levitt with his knowledge and experience working for the state and asked him for some guidance. And he came back with a piece of equipment that it's GPS based. It's a unit that can fit in any of the trucks. So you know, it's not going to be hardwired to any one piece of equipment, and it will measure, be able to measure distance, width, and then that will help us when we're looking back over a pavement, trying to determine, you know, all the tonnage and the exact paving. The price for this unit, Jason said this is something similar to what he used. He thought it was a good product. It is $898. You could certainly, it could be expended out of the 2021 budget or other funding that's available. So
There's a line item, we can take it from out of 21.
2021 budget.
Your recommendation is to do it out of 2021?
Yes, I think it would be a very valuable piece of equipment for them. And like I said, it fits in any truck.
And he has the money in his budget.
We have money in the 2021 budget.
Okay.
for that.
Does anyone want to make a motion or consensus? I mean, it's your recommendation and you have the authority to go ahead and give the approval. on
I
it,
did
so.
have the authority for the approval, but I want the board to look at it and certainly understand and make that decision, especially where we'll come out of the 2021. And I've also had the road agent look at it. He approves as well.
George asked for this, or?
Joe, after he explained to me that especially in this weather now, to try to go out and measure, it would be someone walking behind the truck with a handheld piece of equipment. We had a slight discussion on different types of equipment. And so from there, I reached out to Jason Levitt because I knew he worked for the state and would be familiar, you know, with us. So
You can probably use
George
it for
approved.
measuring gravel too, right? Based on.
it has
road
many
distance and
uses.
Stuff
It-
like that. you know?
Yeah, and you can program
not
it to do
paving.
various things, yes.
Want to make a motion, Ed?
I'll make a motion. Make a motion to purchase the measuring device. To purchase the measuring device.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, and it's the Jamar Technologies GO2 GPS-based distance measure for $898.
Okay.
So we have a motion in a second.
This is going to be purchased from the 2021 budget.
2021 budget
Mhm.
funds will be used. Just waiting for Paula to read it. We're in discussion mode. Any discussion? I'm good. Okay. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. I know that's for me. Anything else, Karen? I think that's it. Okay, so we signed the payroll manifest, veterans credit, two intents to cut. So I will need some motions here. Motion for the chair to sign the title for the international and the new diesel truck.
Make a motion for the chair to sign.
One is already left and one is coming in. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Yeah, don't vote.
Okay. This is the titles, Ed, for the international that we traded back in, was it September or
That we're
something?
getting rid of.
And then the new diesel truck that we just got through the grant.
Okay.
So any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Okay. We also have a grant to reprogram the radios. So we'll need a motion for the chair to sign the grant that will pays to reprogram the radios.
that's a fire department grant.
Is it five, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, and I want to read it before you vote on it.
Okay, we'll revisit that. So, because you haven't read those and there's quite a few motions for, well, there's another motion for the chair to sign something. We'll come back to it. Go back. Remind me that we have to circle back. Okay,
There's a grant also from the nitrous oxide tanks for the ambulance,
yes.
but that was, no, that's not a grant. That was a donation.
Right. I
That
have
was
a
a-
check there, but the check does not have to be signed by you, so I've given it to the treasurer to deposit.
Right, and I think we approved that grant last week.
Last
thought
week.
We did last
Yeah.
week.
Yep,
That was just the check.
right.
Okay.
Okay, so we also had a letter of hire that we had signed. So for new business, we have highway garage improvements. Is there an update on that?
Yes. I wasn't able to get a couple companies to go up there and look and give me some quotes, but what I was able to do is we have a microwave that's been donated, brand new microwave. Also the toilet for the bathroom. And I believe that the vice chair is going to look into a couple places where we might be able to obtain cabinets, countertop.
They'd be used, but
Right,
sometimes they're in pretty good condition.
yeah, at a much lower rate, just to save money. So I don't have a final on this yet. What I did suggest is to the labor, some of the labor involved. For instance, the electrical, we might have to use, of course, a licensed electrician. Those labor costs can come out of the 2022 budget under the municipal building account. So if we can get some final figures on the rest of the products, I can have all that information to you by Friday. And then we can at least cut the invoices.
Would it make sense, just based on what the one quote we have so far, just to make a motion on the amount? And then the people that put bids in, if they do, at least we have the amount locked in. That way.
Yeah.
Can't do what? You can do a motion based on the amount, so just not to exceed amount.
Not to exceed, yeah.
Not to exceed, and it's for the repairs done at the
Yeah.
highway shed. And you put it out,
Where was the toilet donated from, do you know?
Yes, same thing from Lowe's.
Both of them, the
So,
microwave
and
and
the
the toilet?
microwave, yes.
They didn't have a deep sink available?
No, they had, apparently it was advertised on
Oh, okay.
throughout social media that there was a huge clearance and
Oh, all right.
savings. So, but they did want to donate those products. So, yes, I can
Very
take
nice.
those two off the list.
Thank them. So if we do so what was the amount that was originally?
The original amount of all the pieces of equipment came to $3,830.98. Now we're going to deduct the microwave. 34, and we can take off the toilet.
I mean, I would say we do the motion for what the not to exceed total price was, because with the way the market is right now and the increases,
The
I
rest
think
of-
to I just saw our panel go from 300 up to 1,000 in a day. So since Friday, so it's just jumping up so rapidly that
Well, the new figure, if you remove the two items, come to $3,301. And of course, if we can get some used items, that would be less than that. So I would suggest somewhere around the 3,300, or maybe 3,500. And the labor, of course, would come out of the 2022 budget.
okay, so the roughly the 3,301 would come out of the 2021 budget, correct? So
Do you have that much in the 2022 budget? I didn't
the
think so for
2021 budget.
22 budget.
Oh, in the 2022 budget, it would come under the municipal building, so the labor for that.
Okay, gotcha.
Right. Okay.
So I'm going to make a motion that we approve the materials for the modifications down at the highway shed, and it's going to be a not to exceed 3,500. We just need a second.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion on that? And that will come out of the 2021 budget.
Right.
Okay, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Okay. And then when it comes to the labor part, when we get all the bids in, we can handle it then.
Okay,
Does
perfect.
that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, let's look at the time here.
If Ed's had a chance to review the minutes after you have it.
I know, because we gotta give them first, so.
All right. So do we have anything under miscellaneous? I just wanted to touch base, because we said we would always discuss it about every other week as far as, what's going on with COVID. We do know numbers are increasing. So again, we're gonna be obviously monitoring it every other week. I don't think any action right now is warranted. We do have the protocols in place for hand sanitizer when you walk in the door, and masks are available. Anyone have anything else they want to put in for that, or comments or concerns?
Nope.
Okay. All right. Any public announcements? I just can't believe Martin Luther King is this weekend.
Skating rink,
Yes.
skating rink is awful close, within a day or two here. They're working hard down there to get it straightened out, smooth, nice ice. So I know a lot of people are asking, and they're within a day or so, they'll make an announcement, especially with the cold weather. So hang in there, they'll let you know here pretty quick.
Great. Any public announcements from anybody that may or may not be watching?
Margaret's on vacation.
Okay, well, I think we can probably get, Eddie, you all set? Okay, all right. So I'm not gonna do the minutes yet because you haven't had a chance to read them.
Right.
Okay, So we'll need a motion for the chair to sign the grant to reprogram the radios.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we'll need a motion for the chair to sign the Command Corp Service Monitoring Agreement for $20 a month.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, and so before we get to our appointments, we'll just open up public input, anybody?
Sure.
Okay, seeing none, we're gonna close public input.
Now you got nothing to say.
And
All
4
of a
minutes
sudden.
early. I know you are, we're ready for you. Come on up. If
Just
you-
real quick, did you make a motion
What?
to accept the lock and the alarm agreement?
The Command Corp, yeah.
Okay.
You voted yes.
Someone's come in.
Yes,
Oh,
You
okay,
always-
that's right.
and you'll have to speak into the mic.
How close?
They'll let you know.
Camera.
Okay.
Just make sure you state your name.
My name's Harold Conrad, Tim to his friends, so you can call me Harold.
Oh, thanks.
Okay? Thank you. Only kidding, only kidding. My first time been in front of the board, so you can see after 60 years, things have gone pretty well. I do have one question for Select Person Penny.
Yes.
In the minutes of November 30th,
Okay.
okay, it indicated that you asked what George Drew's thoughts on not paving Province Road were.
Yes.
What prompted you to ask him that? Were you asked to ask him that by somebody else?
No.
Okay,
I had a feelings about all the paving, paving costs. Paving is extremely high.
uh-huh,
I wanted to know George's feelings about maintaining the road, maintaining that road right now because it's not paved as a dirt road, as an unpaved road. To see if he thought it was possible, if it was cost effective. And that's what prompted the question.
I didn't think you had an ulterior motive, but before I get into my dissertation, which will only take 3 hours,
Okay,
I just needed to be, no, it's going to be relatively quick. 828 Province Road address is our residence. It was built in 1917 by George Knowles and is more than likely built on a dirt road. Later owned by Governor John Wynant, who was not responsible for having the road surfaced with asphalt. He was responsible for having electricity brought up the road. Just a little historical data that might fill you in. We believe the road was surfaced probably in 1953. The property was bought by my family in 1960, and the road was asphalt. That was important to my father, who was a physician. He needed to be able to get out at a moment's notice without the possibility of getting stuck in the mud. So I'm sure this is one of the things that attracted him. We bought the property in 77 and the road was also asphalt. This being 2022, it would appear that the road has an asphalt surface for at least 68 to 70 years. So it's established as being a tarred asphalt road. As of the Board of Selectmen minutes of November 30th, suggested we consider not turning the Province Road. That would certainly mean going backwards. And this is another question for anybody, maybe Ed can answer this. When was the last time that a road in Barnstead had the tar removed and it became a dirt road again?
First of all, that hasn't been removed, it's been incorporated, round up.
Semantics, Ed, semantics.
And just so the record is straight, it was by your house. It was first surfaced, I believe it was in 56,
I think it was 53, Ed.
because Fred Welch was the road agent.
Yep,
We already lived where we live
sure.
on you.
We're pretty close though. As far as 53, 56.
It was built up that time.
Hmm.
We went from having to drive up off Province Road onto your driveway to either straight across to the road or down.
Sure.
Just so you know, I'm not totally opposed to Paula's idea of not paying.
I read that also.
I've lived there my whole life.
Not yet.
I've seen that road conditions that you've never seen it in. Back in the early 50s, say 53, 4, 5, in spring, it was absolutely atrocious. And Earl Yetton would come home from work at night, hook up his team of horses,
Yeah.
and drag the road with a wooden drag just to pull the ruts back in. It would freeze, and in the morning, everybody could get out okay, and by nightfall, it was back to the way it was the day before.
Sure.
The roads in Barnstead are not bad. I don't care what anybody says. And George Drew does an excellent job maintaining. I defy you to tell me when you couldn't get out of your driveway in the past 40 years and to work wherever that happened to be.
I haven't been on the Province Road, which has been tarred.
What?
I have not had a problem getting out of my road, which is tarred.
All right. Have you had a problem since it was ground up last summer?
It has gone into complete disrepair, which does not show after a snowstorm because that fills in the holes. And that's one, Mr. Drew suggested it's a really good road right now. I was going to disagree, but that was his statement in November of last year. So I can't disagree with him at that time. At this time, right now, it is very poor condition.
I agree with you that since snowfall, since it started to freeze, it has developed some potholes. I don't
Some?
disagree with that. In fact, the worst part of it, if you go all the way down to the Bosco Bell Bridge, the
Yeah,
last 25 feet of that apron.
Yeah.
Was a disaster.
but we learn how to navigate.
There you have it. See, you've adjusted.
But this is getting nowhere. Yeah, go ahead.
But anyway, I'm not totally opposed to it.
Opposed to what?
I'm not just leaving it the way it is.
Okay,
Well, he is.
it's important that we get that out in the public. What you feel, we're regressing. We're going backwards, Ed.
I wonder,
You may think so. I don't see it as regression. I see it as maybe a return to maybe a little common sense. You don't have to have a paved road to live and get to work and this, that, and the other thing. As you say, you've learned how to negotiate, to navigate.
So I go back to my question. When was the last road in Barnstead removed of its tar and turned into a dirt road?
I can't tell you. I
I
don't.
think
There wasn't.
Andy might be able to answer that question, our former road agent, no, budget committee chair. He's right over there. Oxbow Road.
That's right.
that was paved most
Which road was that?
Oxbow.
Oxbow. Oh, yes. Okay.
That was actually a state road.
And that may be why things happened the way they happened, because it was the original state road. You're exactly right. So that may have been part of the state's doing and was not Barnstead's doing.
No, the town, right.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Again, I can't disagree with our road agent, what he felt about the road in November, so I'm gonna strike that. But I would disagree at this point right now. To leave it in its current condition will dramatically increase the continued dust level, which we had after it was ground up. Even though they did put the calcium chloride on there, it didn't do doo-doo. Okay. It is apparently during all that time has been left as dirt. Our vehicles constantly washed, couldn't see out our windows. The entire front of our house was covered with sand grit. You can say that anyone on a dirt road will have that problem. Maybe not the well-established dirt roads, but we didn't buy a house on a dirt road. We bought a house on a tar road.
And your point is,
My point is you're decreasing our property value.
taxes will go down as long as the value of the property goes down. You should be happy at
I've
that.
never seen, I don't worry about that, Ed.
Oh,
That's one of those things I'm just not worried about. But that is not, I don't believe what road you're on has to do with the property evaluation.
no, it
Am
doesn't.
I incorrect?
Property value of your house, is property value of your house.
And the land, but not on the road that it sits on.
Right.
Okay, very good.
I have a question for you while I think.
Yes,
Would you say that the speed of traffic up and down by your house has increased, decreased, or stayed the same since it's been ground up?
Stayed the same. Some come a little faster, some come a little slower. And that could very, very well be cured by our police department running rotating speed traps in all these different roads.
I've been saying that for years. And I
It
agree.
works. It works. I'm telling you, it works.
I know it does. I mean, you ought to live down near the confluence of 4 different highways.
You ought to sit out in front of Dollar General. Have you been in that store yet, Ed? Dollar General?
Donald who?
No.
Dollar General.
Oh,
Oh, boy.
I know, seeing the traffic coming down 28.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
I know that when we dug that road up,
Mhm.
I know George had a very difficult time, especially just past your place,
Mhm,
I believe.
mhm.
And I think he went anywhere from 300 to 600 feet. And there was boulders and everything else in that road. So, repaving wasn't an option at the time. Okay? Because it just would have been back to what it was in a matter of no time. So I think he had gone through and actually done a significant amount of work digging up what was there to prevent it from getting bad again. And brought in a lot of gravel. I mean, a lot of gravel.
When was this?
This was when we had ripped up the pavement on it.
When they were
This past
reclaiming.
fall?
Yes, yes.
I don't remember them being there for a long period of time with gravel.
Well, I was up there. I looked at it when he
Okay.
was up there and I
Okay.
saw what he had done. And there
Okay.
were huge rocks in the road. There were,
where was this, Rick? What part of the road?
am I on the right?
You are. I was trying to think, I'm sorry, I was trying to think of what the footage was there of.
It was somewhere between 300 and
Right,
600
they
feet.
couldn't get through with the reclaimer, when they were reclaiming the pavement, they couldn't get through because the boulders were so big and the
Mhm.
reclaimer broke at one point because of it. So they had to dig it out themselves with their excavator and everything and do that whole stretch.
They dug a
And
lot
they-
out.
Yeah, and then rebuild that whole stretch with gravel. Because they couldn't get it, reclaim it in
Up
that
toward
area,
Your old place,
but
I don't think so.
It was just past yours. I think,
heading east,
yes.
yes,
So
up the
I
hill.
believe Frizzell is across the street at an angle from you, right?
Yes, he's before ours.
Oh, just
And then
before
you're
yours. So
exactly
everywhere
right.
from Frizzell's place up past you to the bottom of actually starting to go up the hill.
Right.
So I don't know how many
right.
feet that is, but that
Right.
whole area was a mess.
Okay, but that's not unusual when you're dealing with roads.
right.
Well,
It can happen, but it was a pretty.
it shouldn't have been like that,
Mhm.
but because you've been shimming and overlaying it for so many years, that's just the way
Sure.
it's been. So
Sure,
it's never been really fixed properly.
sure.
Okay, so the idea was for him to fix it properly.
Yeah.
That was before the whole not gonna pave it deal.
Of course.
Okay,
Of course.
and then he felt that he could maintain it or keep it in better condition, as the way it was without pavement. But recently, if you look at what's happened in the past couple of months,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see that we had rain and then we had cold weather and then it froze and then all the frost came out of the ground again and then it froze again and then it got soft again. So there was a transition there that created a mess for you guys.
Right.
And I get that.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
But I'm just saying, maybe it's because of the circumstances that the road is in the condition it's in, and it probably wouldn't have been that bad. If it had got cold and stayed cold, you probably wouldn't even be facing what you're facing right now.
That particular road has not had anything done to it other than crack sealing, which didn't do for, I don't know, was that ever resurfaced, Ed?
Resurfaced?
Yeah.
It's never been paved. It was always covered with what they call the farmer's mix.
Okay,
That's when they use waste oil and sand.
yeah.
There's a portion of that road up just down the hill from where Holmeses live.
Yeah.
The section there that was rebuilt, it's been 3 different pieces.
Okay.
In 56, it was paved from where I live up to the top of the hill where Emerson.
Yes.
And then at some later date, and I don't remember when, it was paved from there down to Strickland's Road.
Mhm.
And then I think the last portion was from Strickland's Road down to the Gray Road. But there's a portion coming down that last hill where there was a little turn in the road.
Mhm.
And of course, the utility poles were where they were. And when they got ready to build up the road, they cut the utility pole off, level with the ground,
Mhm.
covered it with some gravel and paved it. And up until George ground it last summer, you find the ends of those utility poles sticking up through the gravel.
Because a good old creosote in.
Right, it's not gonna rot.
Never should have done away with that.
And can I just make a clarification? There definitely is a difference in your assessment, whether you live on a paved road or a dirt road.
Is there really?
Yes, it is. It's figured into your assessment, and I can't quote the difference certainly
Okay.
right now, but definitely because when we reclaimed another road and it was paved for over a year, we had to reduce the assessments, change the assessments, put it to dirt, and then the next year when it was paved, then of course
That's good to know.
we would reinstate it. But if it stays paved or unpaved past April 1, everyone's assessment will reflect that it's now a dirt road.
That's good to know. I
Okay.
did not
Good.
know that. Let me just finish up here. Anyway, my decrease in property values maybe does not hold water. A road agent also suggested that some people like the idea and other people don't. Was this a sanctioned survey that was asked for by the Board of Selectmen?
No, not that I know. But
Okay,
I can,
so we
I
have
can,
no,
right, I think it's just people that have put their 2 cents in, and there have been a few in both directions. Agreeing with you and disagreeing with you.
Can I just make one comment and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the whole reason Province Road did not end up getting paved was due to the massive increase that we faced in asphalt.
That and the ledge that they encountered.
And they've got work to do there.
They have culverts and ditching to do
sure.
as well.
But I mean,
when
that
the-
doesn't mean that Province Road is not going
Right.
to end up
Correct,
being.
right.
Right.
No one has ever made the
Which I think
decision that
is
it's not going
most
to.
important right there.
Right.
Yeah,
yes.
well, I mean, that, but keep in
No,
mind
no.
that that is not something that I said, that is not something this entire board voted
Okay.
on. So until you can show me that there was a vote on that, that would not be an accurate comment.
Sure, okay,
But the
right.
but the comment is, yeah, but
Good.
but what our comment was at that point in time, it's
Okay.
because of the other paving costs and whatnot that we had faced. That doesn't mean that that's not going to be revisited this upcoming year or the next year. They made the decision to at least do something to the
Excellent.
road.
Would this also pertain to Parade Hill Road that could be ground up and left as a dirt road to save money?
No, I
I
don't
can't
think
No,
so.
answer
why
I
not?
think that was discussed. There's a lot of work that has to be done there too. It would be ground up,
Yeah.
probably like Province was.
Right?
And then there's a lot of work that would have to be done there, but I do think it was,
Well, it
under
isn't.
consideration, it should be repaved.
Right, it was
Why would
under,
we repave
it was
that?
under consideration and then taken right off the table because of
The grade?
the engineers that said, if you were to remove the pavement and leave it dirt, the washouts just would be horrendous. You wouldn't be able to keep
The
up
same
with.
thing that would
right.
happen beyond my house at the top of the hill.
So they voted not to do any work on Parade
Okay,
Road until
okay.
they can.
Okay.
Budget for
So
it.
then the property owners, the comments, those are just sporadic comments that he might have heard,
I think
Here
so,
and
because
there.
that's how I heard them.
not sanctioned or anything.
No,
The road agent suggests we can ignore the Province Road and focus on roads that really need work. I can't think of many roads that need work as much as this section of Province Road and Parade Hill. Those two were also in rotation for road repair. When were they added to Barnstead roads in need of reclaiming? Does anybody have any idea when the Province Road was put on and Parade Hill was put on the list of roads and when they would be reclaimed?
Last
been
year,
a
the year
while.
before, right?
It has been a while that I believe when Jim Doucette was road agent, which was several years ago, they had looked at several roads and they were just trying to determine which roads needed to have this work done
Because I know there's
first.
been a tremendous amount of work done on Shackford Corner,
Mhm.
on North Barnstead, and I'm sure boulders are not relegated only to the Province Road section that goes for 2 miles between Ed's house and the Gray Road for 1.5 miles. I'm sure that's not the only area of boulders in Barnstead.
I suspect you're right. Although there are some roads like John Tasker Road that probably more rocks in that road than there is dirt.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any way possible that road could be dug up and built back
Mhm.
without tremendous expense. If you ever down that way when they're grading, turning up rocks like this
Sure.
for the whole distance of that road, it's just a mess.
We understand that. When was John Tasker on the schedule to have anything done?
Jim, I don't.
You don't know?
I
Okay.
think it was Jim Doucette who did the,
He had a road study,
yeah,
and I believe Lakes Region Planning
it
Commission,
was Dave
Yeah.
Kerr.
yes,
that.
assisted in
Okay.
that. And so that's
But-
how
but
they
the
established
Province
which
Road,
roads.
this past year was the road that Province Road came up on the schedule. Is that correct?
That the road agent proposed it as one of the roads to
Right.
have
So
work done.
John Tasker Road must be along there next year, the year after, something like
I
that.
don't know.
I know we had asked the road agent to put together an actual
Sure.
schedule to tell us and also have him eventually put it on the website so that citizens can see it as well, the new website. Because that would answer a lot of questions.
Okay. Then maybe just my last paragraph here may be redundant. Again, questions for the boss. When was Province Road placed on the reclaim list? We don't really know.
Not really.
15, 20 years ago.
No, it wasn't that
I
far.
don't think so.
You don't think
no.
so?
No.
It was just as bad 15 or 20 years ago.
We also did a traffic study to see the number of cars that traveled over various roads.
Of course.
That was interesting.
And how did you do that?
Do that,
How did you do that survey?
traffic counters,
With what?
traffic.
I never
counters.
saw a traffic counter on the Province Road.
There is none now, but there was,
Really?
yes.
I would have noticed that.
I know there was two down by the bridge there, before you go up the hill. That was, there was one there several times. But that's to measure the traffic.
I don't ever remember a traffic counter on the section of road.
Yeah.
Rather than debate this, why don't you go in, stop down someday and see Karen, we've still got the study to look at.
Do you really? You
Yes.
still have a study and it shows where they were placed?
I don't know if it shows
Mm,
exactly
It doesn't
where
say
they were
Where
placed
they were placed, Tim, but it makes reference to various
to each road.
locations on a particular road,
Okay,
all right?
yeah, because normally you think of that hose going across the road with a counter on the side of the road mounted on an upright post. Is that how they're done now?
So I didn't,
Mhm.
Not necessarily, it could just be a little box or something that's off to the side,
And
Okay.
what were the results?
but you would see something across the road.
What
Okay,
were the results of this study?
and they were dirt roads as well as paved roads.
yeah, sure,
Yeah,
sure, okay, okay.
but there's no results. You don't.
Not, well, I could check with Karen.
Okay.
When was Province Road placed on the reclaim? When was the last time that a tar road was reclaimed? We talked about Oxbow Road, but then we don't know whether that was under state auspices or town auspices. That was an original state road, which doesn't factor in right at the moment.
It was
Correct.
town. It was town.
Because we don't know whether it might have been reclaimed by the state.
No, the town reclaimed that road.
They would have done that?
The town reclaimed that road,
How long
yes.
ago was that, John? Do you know? Okay, okay,
We can get that for you though, Tim.
okay. And I'm assuming, last question, I'm assuming the Province Road, it was first brought up that it would be reclaimed and not tarred last November. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I
You
mean,
hadn't-
at
I
least when
hadn't
I've
seen
been,
it in any
since I've
other
been on the
notes.
board from
Okay.
2019, I would say that could be accurate for me.
Well,
Yeah,
it was-
See, we got from George out in front of the house, we got the fact that it would winter over
Mhm.
and then it would be taken care of in the spring. So obviously his thoughts have changed or might have changed. He's considering other things. Last, I would strongly suggest that we not consider changing the format of this suggestion of the Province Road. Let's continue as originally planned and complete the project. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. I don't think there's anything else really that I have to say. But those are my points.
Well, thank you for the history
Thank
lesson
you.
as well. I appreciate that, because
Appreciate
there's a
it.
lot I don't know.
Never complained about anything. and-
No, yeah.
But as we get older, you know, you got a lot of free time, you complain.
Yeah. How long have you lived in Barnstead?
1968.
When was the last time you put your name on the ballot and ran for political?
Not gonna do it. I ran, I worked over
Yeah, I
there for
retired in
29
50
years.
in,
No way. Budget.
in 2000.
I remember.
Oh, my
And I have
God.
enjoyed my retirement. And I do. You get paid for it, God knows. But much like me, I got
Big money.
6% on my
Big money.
Yeah.
Have what?
6% increase.
Give you what?
Social Security.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
You'll be getting also.
Thank you very much.
You're
welcome.
It's not, it's gonna add up to another couple of thousand a year for me. I'm going to Texas Roadhouse Thursday night. I'll tell you. Thank you very much.
Tim,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
We'll see you, Harold.
And if things don't go our way, you'll hear from us again. All right. Have a
Thank
good day.
you.
Can we go out the indoor?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Well, that ought to wrap things up for tonight. Kidding, Nancy.
I'm glad I missed that meeting.
If you could state your name for the recorder, please. You're being recorded.
Are we on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but I can't hear you, so you need to speak. Don't even bother.
Yes, Mr. Tasker, I will speak up and project.
Very good. Thank you.
Nancy Carr, Chairman of the Barnstead Planning Board. This stupid thing. Oh, these chairs suck.
Oh, no.
Free chance.
They were donated.
That's nice, but it feels like Jim sitting on the table.
Well,
Does she want to see us more about the catalog? I probably.
Actually,
Is there such a thing anymore?
yeah.
That one.
The roller one.
Step back.
If she
Going
gets on
old
that
school.
one.
Get comfortable, Nance.
Thanks, Rick. Okay. Can you hear me now? For those of you out in Zoom land and you're online, you go to the town, where's the camera? You go to the town website, you will find the subdivision regulations under the planning board. If you have questions about what we're going to talk about tonight, I suggest you come to the planning board meeting February 3rd at 6 PM. Okay. Some of you know that we have a major subdivision coming to town. It's on Vale Road. It's a 13 lot subdivision on a 45 acre parcel. There's certain things that need to be addressed by other town departments and by the select board. Going by our subdivision regulations. On the website.
First mistake.
You're on my list. On page 15, items number 7, review by fire chief and cistern plans. Number 8, review by chief of police. Number 9, fiscal impact study. Number 10, traffic impact study. Number 11, environmental impact study. These are all studies that the planning board can request and the applicant has to pay for. We've requested most of them, but we would also like to have the town attorney draw up an agreement between the town and the applicant to make sure that the applicant does these, the applicant pays for them, and the town hires the engineers to do these studies. That way, there's no implied favoritism going on, shall we say, to the applicant. You can ask me questions when I'm done. I got a whole list of stuff. Also on page 15, number 13 is copies of any deed restrictions, homeowners association, covenants. What this has proposed is a 900-foot road with a bridge and over 400 feet of culvert pipe. Personally, I do not want to see the town take this 900-foot road and be responsible for 400 foot of culvert. And then I know this has to be done at town meeting. So that's something to give you guys a heads up on. But that's a lot of culvert.
Where was the bridge proposed?
It's all on here. It's right off of Vale Road. If you go up, you can see where the guys already started work, even though nothing has been approved. So I suggest you all get in a vehicle and take a ride in daylight. Okay, any other special studies or reviews deemed necessary by the board? So that means the planning board can ask for more studies. Okay. In the maps that were presented to us, there was a lot of missing information that we have asked them for. And Rick was at that meeting and I'm sure he remembers the whole list. I'm not going to go into everything. It's in the minutes. But they did not put in driveway cuts. They did not put in proposed electrical utility lines, which we require any new subdivisions to have underground utilities. All right, in black and white. He did do location of storm mains, catch basins and culverts for this big drainage. And I have it here on this map and I'll show it to you afterwards. Number 49, it says that no land should be disturbed until approved by the planning board. And so that number 49 rule has already been disregarded. And this private road has already been constructed. So then we go down to page 23. Where it asks for number 62 and 63 would be after consideration of the fiscal, traffic and or environmental impact studies, the board may require the applicant to bear that portion of the cost of off-site improvement which bears a rational nexus to the needs created by and special benefits conferred upon the subdivision. This would include updates to Vale Road because a potential 13-lot subdivision adds a potential 26 vehicles onto Vale Road. That's a lot of traffic on that road. So that is something that we need to consider, the select board needs to consider. And number 63 is performance surety in accordance with section 16 of these regulations. That's where the town attorney comes in. We go to page 29. There's more approvals from DES as far as significant alteration of terrain that has been denied by the applicant. I've heard differently. They did do all of their septic sites. You guys can look at this map.
What did you say you heard differently?
Yes.
That there's approval by DES?
No, I heard differently that the terrain had been altered.
Okay.
That,
But he's already gotten approval from DES or permits and stuff like that, right?
some of it, yes. On page 30, we do not have any town of Barnstead driveway permits. And we do not have utility company approval. Page 31 and 32, section 16 talks about performance surety. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. You guys can read that. That's also why we have an attorney. Page 33, section 18, administration and enforcement. These regulations shall be administered by the board, meaning the planning board. The enforcement of these regulations is vested with the selectmen. So while the planning board works with the landowner applicant, it's up to the select board and their agent to enforce these regulations. And section 19, interpretation, conflict, and separability. Under conflict, it says where these regulations are in conflict with other local, state, or federal ordinances, the more restrictive shall prevail. And that means that they have to follow the strictest ordinance. And then back on page 44, there is I call it a sample subdivider agreement. And it's agreement between the subdivider and the town that they will do, put up the surety bond, pay for certain things. I think that this is just a guideline and that we need to be specific about certain aspects of this agreement. So I wanted the board to know what is going on, that the town attorney needs to be approached to do an agreement, memo of understanding, and that this needs to be tracked by someone, an engineer, somebody who has has not a monetary interest in it, probably not even an interest in the town of Barnstead, but somebody who has an interest in this being done correctly. There's a lot of issues that we see as a board, but that we're not engineers. So we need it from an unbiased person. That's why we're asking for all these studies.
Guess what I want to ask is, a couple of the things you named were the driveways,
Mhm.
the road cut-ins, vice versa, and are those on the plans?
The driveways are not on the plans that were submitted. They are coming back February 3rd. They're supposed to drop off plans a few days prior with the driveway cuts.
As far as the road being put in, I'm told the road is just a logging road that's been put in there so far. Is that,
Well, I'm Mother Teresa too.
I get it. I get it. I'm just, how far, I understand what you're looking for, so that we can oversee this and make sure it's done right, because I have had people at my house about this,
And the other thing.
long before I even knew what was going on, so.
Right. The other thing is 2 of the proposed lots are on John Brown Road, which is a class 6 road. And so that also needs to be addressed.
Well, I think at least as a good starting point, I think you're correct. I think we need to be in touch with our town attorney and make sure that we have some kind of understanding and that this is a big subdivision. It's a big thing and we need to get it right.
What about hiring, or if there's somebody you've used in the past or never used, a clerk of the works to oversee the whole project?
Well,
Because it is a
well,
big
I don't
project.
think we should.
But
be
the
incurring
project
that.
hasn't been approved. I mean,
Right,
I
but
think we
if-
need to get
If
the
it does, because
information to see if it should be approved.
I think first and foremost, the first thing we need to do is talk to the attorney and get the performance bond, because if they're going on those roads and they do any type of damage, they're gonna pay for it. That's first and foremost, is the performance bond and our expectations on what they have to do. And I think that's pretty clear that as far as, any driveway cuts.
Right.
The question number one is the town, what happens if the town refuses to, accept that road? If the town refuses to accept the road, what is this gentleman gonna do?
Well, I
'Cause they
mean,
could very well refuse at
first
the
of
meeting, right?
all, the select board would have to vote to put it on as a warrant article.
Right.
If you choose not to, he would have a right to petition it. And then certainly town meeting would vote on that.
Well, what I mean is
but-
that the town, and I'm talking about the select board, but the town will make the decision on if they're gonna accept the road or
Right.
not. What happens, and he's
If he
gonna have to answer
petitions
that
it, if
question.
we don't put it on.
Yeah, but what I mean
Right,
is,
he has to
even if
petition.
he petitions it and the taxpayers say, no, we're not gonna take that responsibility, I think he obviously should be aware that that is a possibility that could happen.
And he should
He's
be,
been told
I
that.
already told him that he should be
Mhm.
forming a private road owners association to deal with this. Because personally, like I said, there's over 400 feet of culvert that I don't think the town's people should have to pay for in one small section of town. That's my opinion. I'm being very clear about that.
And Nancy and I have discussed this because it's happened in the past. In a subdivision, the road goes in, it's not a town road. Someone that lives in that division plows the road. Then that person either because, of age or illness, no longer can take care of the road. And the road then there's no one to take care of it. We've had Bow Mills Road that was put in and owned by the bank and then it has no claim to the road. And then you'll end up with people on there. So that's a huge concern. We don't want that to happen again. They have to come up with something that's going to guarantee those people that are on that road that it's going to be taken care of. And it's not the town's responsibility to do that.
It sounds like an engineering study would be pretty important to how that's going to affect the area up there.
Well, there's several different things as far as the engineering study, the environmental study. There's wetlands through all of this.
Right.
One of these lots, there's maybe 14 feet that's really available for a driveway cut because of how the wetland is placed. And like I said, there's maps, they're colored even. We had color class. That's the exciting thing on the planning board. You get to color. Really? And
We all
And
get
he's-
our own box of crayons.
I have players. I'm a big kid.
How
And
much
we
has-
also need to look at the impact on Vale Road, because if Vale Road needs improvements, then this subdivision should pay for those improvements,
Mhm.
not the other taxpayers. Because these 13 lots are the ones that are going to benefit. I mean, everybody else will benefit too. Plus, we've already had abutters at the first meeting, and one of the abutters said that what they have already done has impacted the flow of wildlife in that area. They own a farm and they have more problems with protecting their livestock. So there's already issues created by this unapproved actions.
Well, I can say that he did apply for an intent to cut. And he owns the land, and so he is able to have the land, the timber harvested. That in itself probably added to some of these problems, drainage, anything. But he has done that correctly, that portion of it. And to do that, to typically in any large parcel, a logging company has to put in a road to get in and remove the logs. Now, I'm not saying that that is all that occurred. I don't know. But that could have been the purpose of the road. So we do know that he has, filed that correctly.
You can have a discussion, I guess, with the attorney.
Mhm.
What's the question is going to be, the last thing we want to do is take on the responsibility of paying first for all of these studies and then having him say, oh, yeah, I'm done. I'm not gonna, and then.
No, he should have.
That's why it's in the
Yeah.
agreement that,
Yeah.
that he pays for all the studies. And it's already in the subdivision regulations that the applicant pays for all the studies. But I would have it in the agreement that the applicant is paying for everything. Every study that we request.
I'll make sure that Nancy is involved in all the correspondence with the
Erin?
attorney to make sure that we cover everything.
And Aaron told me that there's already been one engineer supposedly hired by the applicant to start doing the study. And I said, have them hold off because they need to be hired by the town of Barnstead.
Right. Like you said, someone that's independent of
Right.
the, yeah.
Is any portion of the subdivision in current use currently?
I do not know.
Have you proposed to them the idea that they're going to be required to install cisterns?
Yes, they know about that.
And it's on 3 roads, so you may be able to ask for 3 separate cisterns.
They have one sited. One 30,000 gallon cistern sited. And they said that they'd already drawn up the easement, which I have not seen a copy of. But it's at the end of their private road, proposed private road. So it's on the corner of their private road and Vale Road. This has been given to the fire chief to look at. He has not come back.
But you can require it.
I know.
And I'm just remembering Lester Hawkins' subdivision on the Province Road and
Gray Road.
the Gray Road. He was made to put in 2. He has only put in 1 so far. But you can require, I guess what I would say, and I will encourage you all along the way, is learn from mistakes Barnstead has made in the past. Okay?
That's why I'm here letting you folks know that the enforcement arm of this is yours.
We have had numerous subdivisions where various things were overlooked, like who was going to own the road when it was done. I'm thinking specifically of Bill Stevens subdivision, Meadows Edge Road. That road was built by probably one of the best road builders that Barnstead ever saw, Bill Stevens. But nobody owns it. Okay, that should not be allowed to happen again. There has to be some kind of an ownership or some way so that Barnstead doesn't get saddled with taking care of these roads.
And that's why part of this, the agreement between the applicant and the town should bring up that this proposed road stays private and a road owners, homeowners association is established to maintain this road and all the culverts and all of the drainage that is in this. It's quite extensive. The town does not need 400 feet of culvert. That's why I'm here tonight, to get this agreement in place. So that way, when they come back on February 3rd, we can present them with this agreement. And there's going to be some back and forth because they have not completed their application. I mean, it's not even accepted as complete, and we have no,
Have they, in the course of laying out these logging roads, have they disturbed 100,000 feet of property?
I do not know. This private road is 900 feet with a hammerhead T at the end that's
Saw
big
that.
enough for a fire truck. For Barnstead's fire apparatus to turn around in. This is what's on the drawings, what people end up doing out there. It-
Is the February 3rd meeting a public hearing or just a,
It's a public meeting. All planning board meetings are public.
I
Not a
understand.
hearing yet. I don't think.
I don't know if there'll be a public hearing or not. Our rules of procedure state that there's no public hearing until the application has been accepted as complete. As chairman, with permission of the board, I can change that and we can have a public hearing before the application is accepted as complete.
Well, if you have a public hearing, you've got to notify about it, so.
I know that. And they know that it's continued. And it's already posted. It's up on the website. Aaron will post it around town where we usually do. And I'm sure that the abutters that were present will be talking to their neighbors. This is not a quick process.
Does this project include what is now currently Steve Vale's property?
No. This property is owned by Peters Construction out of Tewksbury, Massachusetts. So it's on the corner of Vale and John Brown Road. You can get plans,
I just looked at one.
and I urge you to drive up by there in daylight. And see what's already been done. Because that's a mighty fine logging road.
You gotta be able to drive trucks in there, load them up, drive them out.
I know. I've also seen them on mud holes too.
But you see, if they have disturbed 100,000 feet of that property, they have to have DES approval.
I know,
Do they have that yet?
supposedly. They already have a state subdivision approval before they even came to the planning board.
Makes you wonder who they know.
But as you said, the
I'm
stricter
sure they've done it
rules
before,
take
somewhere.
precedence. So even over the state, the stricter rules take precedence. So
So I think that there's several things. One, that this agreement needs to be drawn up by the town attorney. And two, maybe plus we need to hire the engineers to do all the studies and they have to pay for them. And three, maybe we do need somebody on a part-time basis to go up there and check as they progress, if this is approved, as they progress through it. I'm just,
well, we're a long way from it being approved. It sounds like.
we'll see how they get their ducks in a row. I mean, we need these studies done.
I was going to say,
see.
I don't, it would seem to me we shouldn't be approving anything until we have studies done and know exactly what's going to
But I
happen.
think.
Well, we need an
Nancy's
agreement
saying she
done in
needs
place.
The authority from this board to be able to do that, to put that as a condition, correct?
Well, yes, I
Yes.
mean, it
Right.
says in the subdivision review that we can, as a board, can request all these
And the
studies.
enforcement would be
The
our board.
enforcement is the select board.
So I'm gonna make a motion that, that the board puts conditions, at the planning board's request, for studies, to be named. I'm gonna say impact, what do I have?
Environmental.
Impact,
Let me see.
environmental, traffic,
So we have fiscal, traffic, environmental. And we also need to look at, well, it's a traffic impact study. on
We need a
Vale
growth
Road
Study too,
and
right?
probably Shackford Corner Road.
Rapid growth.
Well, growth is part of the impact.
Right.
Is it?
And in the zoning ordinances, it states that somebody that has an approved subdivision, major subdivision of 10 or more lots, they can get 2 building permits per year. So, right now, we've limited it to 1 building permit per year.
So the motion would be to authorize Karen to contact the attorney for the select board as far as the studies and putting conditions in place with the chairperson of the planning board's input.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm wondering if worrying about a study is more important than hiring an engineer to work for the town.
Well, I mean, I think this is actually an agreement written up by the attorney to make sure that these studies are completed by a non-biased engineering group.
And that they'll be responsible for payment for the studies.
Right.
Right.
And page 15 of the subdivision agreement, number 15 says, any other special studies or reviews deemed necessary by the board. Note, the cost of any required studies, surveys, and or reviews shall be assumed by the applicant. My concern is that we put it in writing that the applicant signs that they will pay for all these studies.
And that letter would
And that
come
the
from the
town will
attorney.
decide who does the studies.
Yes, and that this number 15 covers the engineer.
Right, and this is prior to planning board approval. We can, if it gets approved, the next step could be that, have someone that could go up to monitor. But that would be something separate, I think.
Well, I think it's important, like you said, we need this bond, so to speak.
The
to make
performance
sure
bond
that-
is extremely important.
To
I
make
think.
sure that, Vale Road doesn't get all ripped to crap
And Shackford Corner Road.
and Shackford as well. I mean, that's just gonna cost us on repairs and everything else.
Because we don't, who knows if when the roads are posted, they could send the logging trucks right through for all, so
Should be coming up soon, right?
it feels like it, right? So I think you both can, yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I think we understand what you're asking for.
Okay.
Right. So has been no second on your motion.
Yeah, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion, further discussion?
Frequent updates.
Well, I think Karen will probably update us as far as what the attorney states.
Sorry, the application, too, which isn't completed, right?
Correct.
We can email you at the
Like-
planning board meetings.
Yeah, I do that.
Remember, Ed, write it down, February 3rd is the,
I won't forget that.
Yeah.
Promise you.
February 3rd at 6 p.m.
Here.
here. And we do not Zoom our meetings.
Leave your house about 5.
I don't think Ed cares that you
Got
know
time
that.
when you do it. No.
Huh?
Just stay here.
He's not zooming to the meeting anyways.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
You explained it better than I was going to.
I know.
I know. Okay.
I forgot to sign one of those.
So if you want to look at how much culvert, it's on sheet 8 of 12.
Okay.
And you have to really look because it's all numbered. Cut sheets in the back. I asked them if they were specific to this or if they were boilerplate, he got a little offended.
Well, he doesn't have driveways on there either.
Well, no. So they have to come back with that.
So your culvert measurements off.
Well, no, because these are culverts just for that one.
That's just for the road.
Yeah, that's.
Well, there's
that's
three,
just over 400
right, there's
feet.
4 other lots that don't have access to that road.
Right.
You also,
But that 400 feet of culvert is just in this wetland area.
15?
400.
Feet.
Oh. Frustrating for me too.
We're
There is
working
a-
on that.
there is a wetlands issue with the driveway too, right?
Yes.
I think
It's,
it's like
it's
on
gonna
the
happen.
plan.
Apparently, it's all approved.
Yeah.
When we do a sidewalk, we'll let you know. Folks can attend the sidewalk.
Oh, there you go.
And I'd love to.
Sidewalk to public meeting.
Mhm.
We do have rules for our sidewalks, but you're more than welcome to attend.
Can't drink.
Oh, you can't?
Oh, gee.
I noticed you didn't say anything about that.
No coolers.
So we good? Any
Yes.
other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for your concern. It's probably very warranted.
Okay, warrant articles.
Yes, so I have the warrant articles. I was hoping to be able to just email them to you for review.
Yep.
Perfect.
To discuss tonight. So I have them. I can send them home with you, put them on the agenda for next week. Take one, pass them down, and I can also email them as well.
And they're pretty much the ones,
They're everything that's in the budget
Yeah.
anyway,
and they've been standing
Yeah.
warrant articles.
right? And the board has to vote on each one.
And I think there just is an increase on the road highway department one, I think. We had 75,000 last year, and I think we went up to 100,000. Yes, no, maybe. Find it.
On paving, paving
I don't
is,
think it was,
oh, the highway department heavy equipment
yeah.
is 100,000 instead of 75.
Yeah. So that's
Yes.
just the only increase, I think,
Yes.
in the warrant article. No?
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think always more in adding because when it's subtracting. Okay, so we'll review these, come back next week. Vote on them. Budget committee's meeting this week, but we're not meeting next week.
Correct.
Yeah.
I will put that on the website. If we're sure that you're not meeting on that Thursday. Okay.
Yes, okay. All right, we've already had public input, and we do have a non-public under RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2C, which is personnel. We have a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, Ed,
Aye.
Rick,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Diane, yes.
Aye.
Paula. We have to do it. You have to do it one by one. Okay, we are going into non-public. Thank you all very much. See you Thursday.